Chag Sameach. It's Reuven Ebrahimoff, the Haftorahman. This week, we're going to do the Haftarah for the Chag of Shavuot. And Shavuot has a special Haftarah on the first day because we believe that the Torah was revealed and given to the Jewish people on Shavuot. Well, we have to read a Haftarah that is connected, the holiday, to the prophetic reading, to the reading from the Nevi'im, or the prophets. So what book do we take it from? Yechezkel. Yes, Ezekiel. Ezekiel, let's say a few words about him. His biography is he lived in the time that he saw with his own eyes the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, of the Holy Temple. It stood for just over 400 years, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, marched upon Jerusalem, surrounded it, sieged, starved, busted the walls in, killed people, burned the temple down, and exiled us. Whoa, what a year and a half. We're now out in the exile. The Jewish people look back over their shoulders to Israel. No Bet HaMikdash, no temple, no Jerusalem. We have nothing left except one thing, Nefesh Yehudi, the soul that believes that God will give us goodness one day. And Yechezkel, Ezekiel, is the man who's sharing with us a very secretive story. It's called the Merkavah. So the story takes place in his dreams, in his vision, while he's in exile in Babylonia by the river Kvar. It even says where he saw it, where the dream happened, the vision actually. It's called the Merkavah. It's not meant to be taught publicly. It's one of these secrets of mysticism. The Kabbalists, the men that are Kabbalists that study Kabbalah, a portion of the Kabbalah is called the Merkavah literature, or the Merkavah. What is a Merkavah? The chariot, the throne of God. Now, God doesn't have a physical chariot, but in human terms, to relate to it, he had this chariot. And this is the Merkavah literature, the Merkavah wisdom that the Nevi'im, the prophets, would imagine. Okay, God created this world. He created endless time and space. I am going to ride with God through eternity. I am going to go with God through endless space. They would meditate on the secrets of the universe. Now, let's come to the story. What does Yechezkel, what does Ezekiel see? He sees the following. It starts off by saying that God said, the heavens are my throne and the earth is my footstool, where my feet rest. Feet rests, not real feet. Next, what does God say? I'm up and out of here. Out of where? The footstool was in Jerusalem, where the Bet HaMikdash was. Why? Because the Jewish people wouldn't stop. They were incessant at committing adultery, worshiping idols, murdering people, and bribing judges. So now God says, you know something? You don't deserve to be here. This is a holy place. There's a certain way you conduct yourself. You can't look in yourself in the mirror after what you do. Where did you come from? You couldn't come from me. So I need to, was protecting the temple. Now, when he says, I'm out of here, what does that leave? It leaves Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, open to destroying the place like I just described. So now, we're out there, holding our heads, going, hey, what did we have? So now, Yechezkel, Ezekiel, describes what God's throne looked like. It's secretive, so I'll be brief. It says that I see these angels. On Shabbat, when you pray, you say, Ve'ho'ofahanim ve'chayot ha'kodesh. These are types of angels, fiery angels, ministering angels surrounding God's throne. And he describes their appearance as having 6 wings. 2 to cover their eyes so they didn't see God directly. 2 that they would fly with, and 2 they would cover their feet. all different magical, mystical visions. And there was 4 sets of these angels, and they were surrounding God's throne. And it goes on to describe all of these things about God's throne and how God said, I'm leaving. So let's come back to the story. Why are we reading this on Shavuot? And the answer is as follows. On Shavuot, we had a revelation to a nation of God's Torah, of our guidebook, how to lead our life, how to conduct ourselves. The Torah brought ethical monotheism to the world. It showed how to treat a wife, a widow, a divorcee, orphans, poor people, business people. We did things that no other nations were doing. And it was so true that the rest of the world adopted these principles into Christianity, onto the Muslim religion. It all trickles down. So now, the Haftorah, why are we reading it? It wasn't a public revelation, but this was selected because it was a personal revelation to Yechezkel that said, you want to understand what happened spiritually? You understand physically what happened? Let me explain to you the secret of the spiritual activity. And now Yechezkel understood what happened. And then, if you read on in the rest of his book, you have the famous story of the valley of the dry bones, and they all come back together. And then the end of the book is the story of how the 3rd and final temple is going to be rebuilt. So this man, in his lifetime, saw destruction and creation, and that was in between the cleansing of the Jewish people. Chag Sameach, enjoy the Haftarah.